Very interesting article, and if you can find a copy of this on the web, I do encourage you to read it. It was a very, very young, inexperienced reporter, a young female reporter, whose name was Rachel Cook, there you go. And Blair treated her with absolute contempt. But the payoff for that was that he basically just spilled his guts. And in response to her questions, he said, oh, you know, Iraq was just a lot of hassle. And then torture, he said, it's just not an issue out there. Well, how out of touch can the guy be? That the public don't care about torture, and they don't care about the fact that their leader has effectively sanctioned torture. I mean, the guy, like I said, is a socio-psychopath. The Tories, if they win, I won't be attacking them. Well, he's right, he won't be attacking them, because he's cut a deal with David Cameron that he won't attack Cameron and therefore won't damage Cameron's chances of becoming Prime Minister, providing Cameron doesn't attack him and damage his chances of becoming President of the EU. Man, this is so sleazy, it's unbelievable. It's political sleaze at its absolute worst. And of course, the death of Dr. David Kelly. I mean, I'm very fortunate that you know, I got to know Norman Baker a little bit over the last couple of years or so. And Norman's going to come along to the Alternative View event that we have in Bristol in November, and he's going to give a presentation based on the book that he's written, The Strange Death of Dr. David Kelly. And this has another good friend of mine here, David Halpin, who lives just a few miles away from me, a remarkable guy. He's a retired orthopaedic surgeon. And he was one of the doctors who put his name to the original statement that was sent to the Lancet and to the Guardian, stating there's no way Dr. Kelly could have committed suicide based upon the description that the coroner had put on the death certificate. And then this was an article that appeared in the Daily Mail by a journalist called Sue Reed, who's written some sterling stuff in recent months. Did MI5 kill Dr. Kelly? Norman Baker has a very interesting take on it, and I won't spoil it for you, because if you get hold of his book, it's an excellent book. And Norman Baker doesn't say he's actually established the definitive version of events, but what he has established, beyond any reasonable doubt, is that the official version of events is a complete crock. And again, we come back to the same man, the man that is the would-be EU president. The Trade Commissioner, Mandelson, currently, effectively, the Prime Minister in the UK. The Trade Commissioner is the most powerful position in the EU. And Mandelson actually did it pretty well in some respects, but only so that it was self-serving. Because he did have his finger on the pulse, and I gave you one example with the growth hormone contaminated beef. But when he was asked to come back to the UK to effectively take the UK into the euro, that's his primary challenge now, to take the UK into the euro and destroy sterling. But he was replaced by Baroness Foy, who was perfectly qualified to succeed him as Trade Commissioner because she knows nothing about trade. And you watch what's happening, because this is happening in all governments now across Europe and in the EU. People are being appointed into ministerial positions that they have absolutely no qualifications for. The reason being is that they're easily manipulated. They could be told what to do. Jackie Smith was the British Home Office Minister, and a week after going into office, she was forced, in my opinion, to sign the Civil Contingencies Bill, which effectively eradicates pretty much all freedom in the UK and creates an opportunity for effectively the police state to be implemented in the proverbial heartbeat. I mean, something of that magnitude, of course, should have been presented to Parliament. And an experienced politician would have said, I can't sign this. This has to go before Parliament. But she was put into that job because they knew they could manipulate her. And this is exactly what's happening right across Europe, and it's what's going to be happening more and more at EU level. The people that are appointed into these roles will not have the experience or the qualifications to be able to manage those roles. This was interesting headlines on the same page. The Savage Menace of the Devon Dogs, with Blair and Mandelson. But closer inspection actually wasn't the same article. But here you have it. Yeah. And this is Leo McKinstry in the Daily Express a few weeks ago saying why getting out of Europe is the only way to save Britain. And he is absolutely right. And you know, it's why I do, regrettably, foresee that if the Treaty of Lisbon is ratified before the end of the year, as a very good possibility it will be, we probably are within 20 years, and I may be ambitious even reaching 20 years, within 20 years there will be civil war somewhere in Europe. Because the people will start to wake up to the magnitude of the con, and something will trigger unrest. And of course, that's already been thought of, because that's why we are moving towards an EU army and an EU police force. You know, already we've got French police in southeast England, and you've got British police in northern France, allegedly to help the French police deal with speeding British drivers when they're coming up to channel ports. What bollocks! But the whole idea is, in a situation of civil unrest, it's to put police or military on the streets that don't speak the same language, so that there's no possibility of empathy. You know, and I can sense that in the next sort of few years we're reaching a situation where many, many people, because there are many, many good people in the police, there are many good people in the military, there are many good people in various countries' civil services and in the teaching profession. And somewhere along the line they're going to have to stand up and be counted, because they are going to realise that they're being required to prostitute their fundamental belief system to uphold a federal Europe. This is Trevor Kavanagh, probably the most influential political writer in the UK, and he's an Australian. And he is very good at what he does. He's effectively the mouthpiece of the senior moment. This guy, Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch. He's effectively the mouthpiece of Murdoch. Very influential. Now we get into the part that really does hit hard. And this was a comment that appeared in the British media. Now there are 1,000 laws that will let the state into your home. Now this is all actually under the Civil Contingencies Act in the UK. Now I have a friend who's Russian, and she spent all of her childhood and youth and young adulthood under the Soviet rule. And she said, Ian, the thing that I'm really concerned about is, when I was born, obviously the Soviet Union had been around for some sort of 50 odd years. And, everybody knew the score. Everybody knew that everything that appeared in the media was a complete crock. Everybody knew that what was put out on the television was just the propaganda. And nobody believed it, nobody even bothered to talk about it, because you would discuss the stuff that affected you on a day-to-day basis, and you would just leave them to get on with it. And she actually believes that one of the reasons that the Soviet Union just absolutely collapsed was because, basically they didn't have the hearts or minds of any of the people in the state. But she says, what I perceive now, living in the UK, is pretty much the same sort of situation as it was in Soviet Russia. The difference being is that people still believe everything that's printed in the media or put out on the TV. And they don't realise what is actually going on here. They don't realise that they are being put under sort of effectively financial strangulation. Now, Tony Blair was never going to sully his hands with actually signing the Treaty of Lisbon. He didn't want to go down in history as the guy that effectively signed away 800 years of British history. So he got out of office and then handed that honour to Gordon Brown, who I saw yesterday was given an award in Washington. I mean, it's just a complete joke. And you have, this was an ace that had been created in British politics. When Tony Blair came to power, he effectively created a system of expenses which gave all MPs the opportunity to live like princes. And for experienced MPs, they couldn't believe the luck at how much money they were able to make now, because the expenses, the second houses and everything else that they were able to claim for. And that ace was played at the beginning of May of this year, when information on MPs' expenses was released to the media, to the Daily Telegraph.